So, in fact, this presentation is an invitation to rethink how to write command line tools. I think when you are tasked with writing a command line tool, say with 3 parameters ABC, it's obvious to you that you use external variables and write a module with those variables ABC. But there is an aspect which is at odds with this approach. Aggregation of functionality is brain-friendly. We're using it constantly without thinking about it. So we aggregate, for example, methods into classes, functions into modules, operations into services. Just imagine an organization which is offering, say, 3 web services which altogether have 40 operations. And then imagine overnight they would take away this aggregation of services. And these are all 40 operations. This would be very bad, very confusing. So to have this 2-level hierarchy of a larger unit containing units of functionality on a lower level is very useful. But how about command line tools? Could we not follow the same approach when we're writing command line tools? And that's the idea of what I call a topic tool. So this term is supposed to denote a command line tool which offers a single point of access to a range of functionality dedicated to a particular topic. Perhaps there are others among you who share the following experience. You can write tools very quickly with XQuery. So you write and write and write, and quickly you have written 30 tools. And then you get confused. And where did I put the tools? And then you're not sure, here I need a slightly different customization or something. Should I then, if I dig it up, should I add a parameter, should I write a new, and so on. And I always thought this is a pretty messy situation. And these topic tools, which I'm talking about today, is a response to this problem. So in my personal work environment, I use several topic tools. For example, XSDR is a tool offering various operations all around the task of reporting the contents of XSD. For example, creating mock documents, creating other representations, generating documentation, and so on. So this is just an example for what I call a topic. Some kind of crystallization point around which different units of functionality, different operations can be gathered. Or think about log data analyze. Certainly you start to write tools, write, and then you have perhaps 20 tools among the 100 tools, and they are all concerned pretty much with the same basic problem, but you don't have a unit to separate them from the others. So, topic tools is a lightweight framework. In fact, itself it is a topic tool which helps you to write topic tools. And it is powered by BaseX. So, if you remember my first words, when you want to write a command line tool with 3 parameters, you have 3 external variables. What do you do if in the end you want to have one tool with 20 operations? And a single operation can have up to 30 parameters. It's clearly not manageable anymore. It cannot be done this way. So, topic tools moves in a different direction. It says stop. We do not represent the parameters of user input by separate external variables. We have a single external variable, which is the command text. And topic tools has a very simple and intuitive model for the syntax of a command test. It's pretty much the same as we are used from URIs with parameters. So every topic tool expects your input to be aligned with this syntax, the name of an operation, question mark, and then a comma-separated list of parameters. And Boolean parameters allow a shortcut. You do not have to say name equals true or false, but just the name for true or the name preceded by the tilde for false. Now if your tool is smart and it knows, for example for the operation tree, which parameters are valid, it can do things. It can do several things. Among these, first of all, we reject immediately your command if the given parameter is not among the valid ones. And the other thing, and it's very helpful in practice, it can do name completion. For example, if I just enter an X, it can check, does this allow an unambiguous resolution to a single parameter? And if it does, behind the scene, it takes this X for an XSD, and so on. So this is a general command text model used by applications which I call TopicTools. So it's a bit confusing. TopicTools is a framework helping you to write applications which are TopicTools. And these TopicTools which you are writing will expect this kind of input. Anything else? Yes. The TopicTools I suggest to offer a uniform help operation. So whatever the topic tool is it something for log analysis, for XSD reporting, for whatnot? It should have a certain look and feel how you can turn for help. For example, learn about the available operations. Or for each operation, learn about the available parameters, the default values, the types. Then it should also have a uniform style of error reporting. And if you have 8 parameters, I wouldn't like it to give first the first error, then you correct it, then the second, and so on. I want an aggregated error report. So that's what I expect from a topic tool. And the last point is there should be a uniform set of what I call smart parameters. Now, we all know the XQuery type system, strings, integers, days, and so on. That's obvious. But when you consider the possibility that infrastructure first takes care of the command line which it is given, then you can introduce new types which do intelligent things with the text which comes from without and enhance it. And you will see an example in a minute. So the point that I want to make is, if one adheres to such a general model of topic tools and observes all these features, it's very pleasant for the users, because no matter what is the domain, what is the actual topic tool they are working with, they know already how, for example, they can filter names, how they can extract documents from the file system in a very compact way, and so on. Because there's a standard set of smart parameters. Okay, so my strategy trying to interest you is first to look at the user perspective. So, and to get your mind working, would I like to write such command line tools? And then we turn to the developer perspective, how can you do it? So, I would just want to show a very simple example. So there is a little topic tool which I wrote for the purpose. It's called XW, which is short for XWhite. And here is the command text. It's a question mark. It will be the help function which is thus triggered. And then a couple of parameters. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I wasn't expecting this low resolution, therefore it's not visible so well. But we see here that operations are described succinctly. There is an operation names, and it has these parameters with these names, with these types. These are all smart types, and this information is about, because the type is multiple, I may have multiple value items, how to separate them. This means separate them by white space or by semicolon. So the point I want to make is it's a, let's say, pretty, can be prettier, but it's already a pretty standardized way of giving you information about the tool at hand. So this was an example of this standardized help functionality. And you will see that if you build your applications using the TopicTools framework, it will automatically, without you doing anything about it, will already offer this type of help functionality. Okay, now I call my tool, and you remember the syntax. The operation is named names. It has a parameter doc, which is obviously the URI of a document, and very simply it lists the names of elements and attributes found in this document. So just to give you a feeling, what is it like to work with such a tool? Use this command line syntax. I put it into name 0. So it wrote such a list. And you see, count docs 1. Well, of course, because I specified one doc. Now a similar call, but I use a different parameter, docs. The help showed it has a different type. Doc had the type doc URI, which is straightforward, and docs has another parameter type, which is what I call a smart parameter type, and it allows you to succinctly specify a filter to be applied to your directories, to your file system, and extract files from it. So this obviously would not be a built-in type. There's nothing built in XQuery allowing such things. So in fact, he made a search in the directory tree and extracted 14 documents. So the point I wanted to make is that you can have attractive parameters, and you do not have to write a single line of code to have such parameters available. It will be provided by the framework which I'm talking about. And finally, to give you a bit of so there's a further parameter names, which has a smart type, which is a name filter. And this is a sophisticated syntax where you can, in a very fine way, express a filter on names. So for example, I say now, should contain code, or airport, and then I could also say, but please not address, or something like that. I should do this. No, without that. code. Yeah, not. You got the idea that you have interesting parameter types, and the point is you don't have to code. You get them for nothing. Syntactic shortcuts, I will not show you. You believe me, you can abbreviate the names, and it reacts very sensitively. If you overdo it and it cannot unambiguously resolve, then it will compare. Now, how to write such tools? I don't know if your mind is working. How would I tackle this task? But I believe you would have very much work. At least I had very much work to get there. The basic pattern is to use annotations, or to be honest, pseudo-annotations. And the pseudo-annotation is just an XQuery comment with this syntax. There's a tilde and then a keyword, and then comes XML. And the XML describes different things. The most important, by far the most important thing, is annotations which describe the operations of your tool. So in this very simple example, I would have a topic tool offering a single operation with the name foo and these parameters. And the operations are implemented by one function. Which one is specified in the annotation? So you write then this function. And now comes the most interesting part. Unlike, for example, REST-XQ, there's not the approach of mapping input parameters to function parameters. Topic tools use what I call the message abstraction. You get a message, and you pull out of the message what you want. And this means your functions have a stable signature. And this makes it exceedingly simple by the minute to add parameters. Just quickly, new line up there, a new line, fetching it, and then you go into your code. It's simply wonderful. You don't have to adapt anything. You just start using the new parameter that occurs to your mind. So, I'm talking about what is it like writing command line tools using the topic tools framework. So this is the answer. This is the workflow. The first step is a command line call of the topic tools framework, which initializes a new application, and this means it creates a new directory. And if the directory already exists, it rejects your request. So, to give you a feeling, I would like to demonstrate this. So that's what I want to do. Create a new topic tool with a name foo, because by default he takes the last step of the directory path as a tool name. And that's the only. So you see that the topic, in fact, the name is T-Tools. The T-Tools is a topic tool assisting you in writing topic tools. So it has, of course, a syntax, and the operation is new. It has here a single parameter, directory, and you give a directory path. Not Castle Valley. That's an example for the Diagnostics. So, as I said, the directory must not yet exist. So there is internally a so-called facet, like you know facets from XSD, and therefore the tool rejects this initialization. There it is. So TTools answers that it created the tool, and there's a tool directory, and lo and behold, you have not written a line of code, but you can already call the tool. It has a help function. So that's what I want to do. BaseX User Amazing. You haven't written a line of code and your tool already has a whole array of operations. Well, built-in operations which your tool inherits automatically. And they can be recognized by the leading underscore. These are utility operations. For example, doc types gives you something like a doc type report. And okay, but we want to write our own operations. So I say add mod equals item. Oops. Something of the sort. So there's another operation add, and I specify the name of a module and the names of first operations, and it generates a prototype of this. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, because I called my tool, I should have called TTools. So, but you see, the diagnostics is really working, because it says, what did you do? Operation add, I don't know it. Your foo doesn't have an add operation. So, oh yes, of course, he's right. Because he doesn't know which tool. So I again say a foo. So by now our tool has 3 operations. Again, we have not written a line of code, but there were already prototypes of these operations, and you remember the implementation of an operation consists in a function and an annotation. So our generated module has now 3 functions and the annotations for these operations. And we can even, well, because there is already some dummy implementation, we can even call it. So I call it one was names, and then it serves a purpose because it shows it's really reliable. If anything is wrong, your code is not even called. It's all handled by the framework. And it's so it should be. So the dummy implementation creates a names element, and that's the most important part. It tells you how many documents it received. So it shows you are already connected to the user input. So okay, now a look into the generated module. So you see the annotations for the operations names, value, and path. And what you then see also is a set parameters which are just a suggestion because they prove to be very useful. It's various ways of how users can provide input. So you are expected to change these annotations in any way, but as a start, it's by experience, it's a good starting point. And yeah, here for example, you see the generated dummy implementation of the names function. And okay, I'm prepared now. So some real code. It fetches the documents and then it sets two parameters. So I have to extend also the annotations by a parameter scope and a parameter filter. And then it's already a little bit sophisticated. So it gives you opportunities to determine whether you want only elements or all, or only elements or only attributes. And the interesting, make one call to the framework, and in a second or two it is rebuilt, and the complete infrastructure is regenerated. So he doesn't know that parameter because the generated software has not yet seen that. So BaseX User build. It works. I'm very relieved. So you saw in action what you're doing when you're developing these applications. You write code and you edit the annotations. And when you have changed the annotations, you must make one build call, and that's it. You can start testing your tool using the new parameters. And you also saw the extension to get a new prototype you call the add method, the operation of the TopicTools framework. Okay, the example we saw. So this is the architecture, or I don't know how to call it, what is behind. So there is one tool directory, and there you drop your modules. The modules contain functions and annotations. Then when you call build, it generates a tool scheme. What it does, in fact, it analyzes all these text files and extracts the annotations and generates a tool scheme. From this, it generates the main module, the dispatcher, and it makes the tool scheme available to the generic parser, making it smart, giving it the possibility to inform it about the types, the valid names, and so on. And this means, in fact, the whole thing is like a drop and run. Just drop something into the directory, say build, and the name and the list of your operations is extended. I forgot to show you this. After our adding, there's the 3 operations. See? After the long list of built-in operations, there are the new ones. And the point is now you can have 50 operations. It doesn't contribute any kind of complexity. You are not concerned with it. The code which actually calls your application call is generated. And it's absolutely straightforward. And I have very large topic tools, very large. So, what to consider when you think about, should I use this framework? Just a few points. we have an automated integration of operations. You will get an awful lot of work if you have a tool with 20 operations and you do not have such a support. You do not have to think about it at all when you use T-tools. Then the client interface is completely modeled using annotations, and it's not only built-in types, it's smart types, it is facets. Facets are very, very handy. So all the facets that are supported by schema are supported also by this annotation language. And very advanced use, you can even create own facets, because a facet is ultimately a function. So there is a different, but this is very advanced use. You can write a function and declare it to be a facet, and then the framework will automatically validate the input against this. The same goes for types. You can, when you write a really very large tool which is destined to exist for a long time, very complex, you can introduce new smart or not so smart types, writing as particular functions, and declaring them via annotation to be the implementation either of a facet or a type. Okay, so this tool is now available on the GitHub. Unfortunately, the user manual is still under construction, and it will still take me a lot of time because there are many details. But there is a couple of getting started tutorials. So if somebody is interested, I think hopefully this could already suffice to get him or her started. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
And I would like to say a word about basics. It's not coincident. The framework is basics based, but the tools you write must not are not bound to basics. There's a concept of so-called flavor. When you, for example, say, I want to create a basic tool which will be run with sets on 9.5, which is only XQuery 1, no files module, and so on, then you can specify this flavor, and everything will be reduced. And those types which require the files module, which require unparsed text, will be simply vanish from the scene. But I'm really grateful for what BaseX has to offer, because it is so rich, and it was ideally suited to write this framework, because the framework needs all those features. And I highly appreciate this, always being keen on standard conformance, being very fast. XQuery 3 was already implemented before it was a standard. Having SQL extension functions, having dynamic evaluations, all these things are exactly what I needed. So I could not have done this without BaseX. I would be very grateful if somebody decides to give it a try for feature requests and bug reports. Any questions? Beer, huh? It's figuring in our minds now. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.